Hello, welcome to Trader.tv. My name is Robert Sievers. Today I'm here with a special guest, Rod Casilli. He is the lead trader and co-founder of VPTLive.com and MainStreetAlpha.com. How are you doing today, Rod?
Good, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, excellent. So let's go ahead and get started with the interview. Let's see. When did you first get into trading?
So yeah, I first got into trading a while ago. I started my professional career at Merrill Lynch back in sort of the early 90s down in Los Angeles. And I was a financial consultant, so mostly my job was to raise assets and help people with their financial planning. But I quickly did get more interested in the market itself and began trading for my own account probably in 1994 back in Merrill Lynch.
Okay. And then I did a little bit of research on, and I saw in your bio that you did a couple years of software design, I think, until about 2012. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the transition actually from finance to software was an interesting one because when I was at Merrill Lynch, we actually started taking technology companies public. Remember Netscape back there, sort of the first browser, and I was like, man, this is some exciting stuff. I got to find out more about this. And one of my large clients actually sort of lured me out of finance and into technology. I moved up to the Bay Area,
Okay.
and then I spent about 15 years in software. So that's how I got into software, mostly on the sales and product management side.
Okay, okay. And then I also did a little bit of reading, and I saw that you were a small orders execution system bandit. Can you explain what that is? It sounds to me, I mean, I've never heard of it before, but it sounds to me like a precursor to high frequency trading or something along those lines.
Uh-oh, Robert, you're showing your age, you youngin.
I
Yes.
know it was
So
bound to
yeah,
happen sooner or later.
yeah, there you go. I would say the beginning of modern day trading, actually, at least in the U.S., started with what was called SOs, the Small Order Execution System, and they called these day traders the SOs bandits, if you will. There were
Okay.
some firms like Block Trading and a variety of others. This was the first time in which retail traders had access to faster machines, more sophisticated technology. And when I left Merrill Lynch, I actually became an investor and traded as a SOs trader in Beverly Hills for a
Okay.
little bit before moving up to the Bay Area. So yeah, it was very, very active day trading back when stocks like Dell and Intel and Microsoft were in the hundreds. It was scalping, very, very difficult too, because that was before even decimalization. So we're talking about, Robert, you probably don't remember this. Stocks used to be traded in eighths and halves and quarters. So back then, the whole idea was to try to beat Goldman Sachs to an eighth of a point. And guess what? They were a little bit better than your average retail guy. But yeah, that was so small order execution system, the beginning of day trading, I think, for a lot of retail investors.
Well, I appreciate you doing a little explanation for me. It's definitely appreciated.
Yeah, there's a
What?
fine line between education and patronization, right?
Yeah, it's definitely fine, but let's try not to cross it too much today.
Okay, there you go.
So let's get a little bit into like your specialization, I guess. What type of trading do you typically do? What type of do you trade futures, options? Do you trade regular stock,
Yeah,
indices?
personally, and also for VPT Live, I do a little bit of everything. Frankly, it's been a little challenging in terms of the education and training side of our business because I think most traders, especially earlier beginning traders, are better suited focusing on a particular instrument. So the fact that we call ourselves multi-time frame, multi-instrument, sometimes it can be difficult for newer types of traders. But myself personally, I probably am, if I had broke it down, I'm about 30% futures, 60% equity options, mostly on just a very small amount of stocks. So we trade the same equity options on the highly liquid stocks like Apple, Bank of America, Microsoft, and then about 10% of our stuff is currencies. So that's
Okay.
about the mix. And predominantly we trade futures for daily income. So we're day trading futures and mostly are not holding any overnight positions.
Okay, understood. And then that's also the main focus for VPT Live. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know that some of the features that you have on VPT Live, for example, would be like the Apple a day options. Do you think you could tell us a little bit about what that entails, Apple a day options?
Yeah, so Apple a Day Options is a program that I created about a year and a half ago, And the idea behind Apple a Day options was to make options trading more accessible by focusing on a stock that certainly everyone in the world is familiar with, whether they're really trading or not. Because I think that unfortunately options can be stigmatized, and they still are stigmatized. They're kind of a bad word. They're risky, or they're too complicated for most people to get involved in. And in fact, back at Merrill Lynch, and to this day, I would assume in a lot of wirehouses, there are very, very few financial consultants that are advising or sharing option strategies with their clients very often. I think that they normally just do managed money approaches and hope that those money managers are doing that. So back to Apple a Day options, the idea was a program that could make options trading very approachable, because that program is only directional, which simply means you're just buying puts or calls. You're not doing. There are a lot of ways to trade options, but we keep it very, very simple. And since Apple's a very approachable stock, it's easy to use every example in that method. So the program itself teaches directional options trading, and then places swing trades on Apple, either up or down. And Apple has continued to be a pretty volatile stock. It goes through periods of resting, but now we're seeing it in probably a 20-25% decline right now. So that's something where your average investor is not aware that there's things like puts where you can take advantage of a declining market if you happen to own the stock, or if you wanted to speculate on that type of movement.
Okay. Well, I think I got a brief little idea about that. So basically, it would be more for people that are kind of getting an idea of how to trade options, how to trade puts and calls, and so that's why maybe you tend to stick with the Apple, is so that it's just one company, so that it's easier to kind of to master and get some skills as far as the option trading goes.
Exactly. The whole
Okay.
goal is to keep it not overwhelming, if you will, because options can tend. Once you even have a general understanding of options, then the lament, the complaint, the problem that we hear from so many people is, okay, now what do I trade? And then they look at an options chain, and they're just even more overwhelmed. So the answer to all the questions are: what do you trade while you're learning? You trade Apple. How do you trade it? You trade it directionally. When do you trade it? You trade it when you get one of these two signals that we teach you. So the goal is to try to keep it focused for a lot of people, because I think that the shiny object syndrome in options it can be very much detrimental to people's trading. Oh, I'm going to go buy this or buy this or buy this because now I understand that I can use leverage in this way, and it can actually be very harmful when people are just learning. Even after we've said, hey, how important it is to learn this, we don't want to get them hooked on something, so to speak.
No, I understand. I mean, when I was being educated, I was always taught to be clear a little bit of options, and definitely to master it before you really start using it. So it's excuse me. It just seems like something that I mean a couple of people, especially beginner traders, like kind of at my level, are have a lot of fear of options. There's just
Right.
it's a lot more complicated than, for say, just to trade normal stocks, the normal investing. So I think that's a good program that you got going on there.
Yeah, one other point I could add real quickly
Yeah,
on
of course.
options is that because I've been doing derivatives and options way back since my days at Merrill Lynch, is that, and this is just what I see out there. Look, there is a lot of great resources. I mean, probably too much, right? We live in a world of just overwhelming choices and information. How do you synthesize that down to something that's effective and useful and helpful to you as an individual? In the world of options, the concern that I have is I see so many trainers, educators, books, things like this that are trying to dazzle people with the footwork. Like, they do a little bit of foundation, and then they just launch into iron condors and theta decay and all this overwhelming stuff that most people don't even need. And what we always say at VPT, and where I really try to advise folks, is just keep it simple at the stock level first. Like, what's happening with Apple or whatever stock, and you should spend 95% of your time with the system and setup for the underlying equity, and then once you're ready, transfer that into the option world. Whereas I think, unfortunately, a lot of options programs are all about the option itself before you even focus on the underlying trade thesis for why you're even buying that option, if that makes sense. And unfortunately, you can just spiral into the abyss if you focus on the options before you have a solid strategy as to why you're actually making a play for a move up or down.
Okay, so you would definitely recommend getting a better hold of just obviously just the day trading before you obviously start getting into the Apple a day options
Whatever your
features
system
on
is,
VPT Live.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be day trading. Your time frame can vary, but you have to have a solid foundation. You have to have a system, an approach to the market, an approach to looking at a chart, an approach to understanding, what fundamental analysis factors have worked for you in the past, or the ones that you most resonate with in terms of how you want to be deploying your capital. So really, it's about having a system first. And
Okay.
if you choose to implement that system in options, that's fine, but you can't start with options even after you understand how they work. You have to always go back, because options are derivatives. Their price action is based on an underlying component, and unless you have a solid system for that, the options are just that much more difficult because they're once removed from how the underlying instrument actually acts.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for the explanation. I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and let's move on to the next feature, which is the Brickwick Trader. And I read that you were the creator of the Brickwork Trader system. Do you think you could give us a little bit of a description about that? I think you probably have the most insight to give.
Yeah, so the Brickwick Trader system is a trading system that's meant for intraday trading on mostly the futures markets, although it
Okay.
can be applied to really any instrument. It's based on the foundation of a modified Renko bar. I won't get into all that. There are a lot of different ways to look at time periods and ticks and bars on a chart. You have minute bars, and you have Renko bars, and you have Hakanashi candles. So this is a modified Renko bar where we can actually affect the way the bar paints and acts based on price movement. And what we really like about it is, similar to a Hakanashi, it visually allows the trader to really see trend in a way that I think is more difficult on other sort of time frames and other typical bar types. So then, based on those trends, it's a momentum-based system, and the thing that we really like about it is your chart is not full of all kinds of indicators, and the decision is very, very simple to understand. You buy one color and you sell another color. I know that can be kind of overly simplistic. There are some programs that you'll see out there that I think make it overly simplistic, that all you need to do is, if it's a green candle, do this, or it's a red candle. But with a few other filters, if you actually follow the rules, it's purely price-based, and we're finding it to be very, very successful, especially on well-trending markets like the S&P and crude oil.
Okay, awesome. And so you found that that's picked up some popularity as well on the site, or I mean, you found that the Brickwick Trader has really kind of come into his own.
Yeah, it is. I mean, futures it's a smaller, very much smaller market than foreign exchange currency and then stock and options trading now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're finding that it's a very focused type of trader that's going to take the time to get into futures and understand them. But for that type of trader, yeah, this system is proving to be very successful, and we're excited about it because the whole idea behind VPT is a community where we have a lot of people with sort of like-minded understanding of how we're approaching the markets, and we can trade a variety or look at a lot more markets than, say, I could look at by myself. So
Okay.
we have now traders trading the Brickwick on gold and soybeans and bond futures and really every complex out there.
So that seems to be one of the commonalities between your two websites, kind of to me, is that there seems to be a strong community within the two sites. Like, for example, I know that I think on MainStreetAlpha that you do, like, for example, the Algo U, which I think stands for Algorithm University.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it seems I was just doing a little bit of reading onto that, and it seems like a lot of the people that come onto MainStreetAlpha.com, you almost share a lot of the algorithm that has to do with the automated trading. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's kind of a constant work in progress that a lot of the people, the community, it works on it together. And I mean, am I on the right track here, or?
I think, yeah, there's a little bit of that. I don't know if that's exactly the Algo U program is really, we have a number of different programmers and developers, some that are traders, some that are purely on the tech side, that we have access to. And what we've offered to the community is, there's no substitution for good ideas, right? We have some of our own approaches to the market. We write our own systems, but we really believe there is wisdom in the crowd. And while there's a lot of participants out there in the marketplace that won't take the time or put in the effort necessary to develop a profitable system and back test it and do all those things, there are many that have very, very good ideas. They just don't have the means of which to turn them into a true automated trading system and a true algorithmic trading system. So what we do is help them with that next step. And that next step sometimes can literally just be automating the entry so they don't miss a trade signal. In fact, a lot of what we do is what we call trader assist, which is what we're looking to do is don't miss an entry. Once you're in, manage that according to your rules. But the toughest thing for traders mentally a lot of the time is when they just miss that great big trade, right? And they shouldn't miss it if their strategy is actually an algorithm in its program. So that's what we do with Algo. One other quick thing on this concept of, because what we hear a lot, well, if your algorithms were good, or if you found something that always works, you would never share it with the public or sell it, or this kind of just skepticism around the industry of teaching, training, and community around trading. That's probably a conversation for a whole other day as to what our motivations are for that. Okay. But let me be on record that is total nonsense. Okay. The markets are gigantic, right? They're absolutely gigantic, and there's no way, shape, or form that that anything that we do or help someone automate or is somehow going to affect our performance, or that we're being disingenuous by helping other traders build algorithms in the marketplace. No, because we hear that a lot. Like, if someone brought a great system to you, you would steal it, or if you have a great system, you would never sell it, and that's just nonsense. It's a lack of understanding of how the markets really work. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean,
it does seem to be kind of a common theme, like between a lot of the more experienced traders that I've talked to, for example, that they say that even if they do have some sort of scheme or some sort of plan, they tend to try to not share it, so that they don't lose that edge that they have. And so I'm glad to hear that you guys don't think along the same lines. And I mean, I know so little about trading with algorithms that it seems like a good program that you guys have going on over there, because it seems like there's that has to do a lot with the future of trading, and also there's a lot of education that goes behind it that I haven't really seen on other websites. So yeah, I think that's a great unique thing that you guys have going on there, and I recommend it to the users of Trader.tv and anyone who may be watching.
Yeah, real quick, one last thought on that. I mean, not to be naive, like you also have to understand the scale of what we do and what most retail traders are going to have access to. We're just trying to level the playing field a little bit. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, there's no way my machines were as fast as those guys' machines, and my machines will never be as fast as those guys' machines, guys and gals. But and then everyone is probably, if you're in the markets, you're somewhat aware of flash boys and this concept of high frequency versus algorithm. The point I'm making here is that, at least at the level that we work at and who we're trying to help, we're just trying to, in fact, a lot of the best systems that we work on are just piggybacking on that order flow. Okay. We're not assuming that we can beat these guys. We're just trying to get in on their order flow as well. And so that's the real take there. I'm not saying that folks like Renaissance Capital and these big people that are managing billions of dollars globally, macro, algorithmically, that they don't have IP that's worth protecting, and that there's not actual edge that would never be sold or shared with anybody. I'm just saying that in the world that we're working at, and probably many people that are watching this in your audience would be best served at least understanding how algorithmic trading could help their trading and help their approach to the market, and that if they stumble upon something, or if they actually buy a system and back test it and know that it works, that edge is going to change over time, but it's not necessarily because of the amount of people that are using it.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think that knowledge is power, especially in the markets today. So just even if you're not planning on trading with logarithms or with the high frequency trading, I recommend at least getting some knowledge on the field, so that you can know what you're up against. And so especially for beginners, it's something that I highly recommend, and it sounds like you do too. So I apologize to keep skipping back and forth, but let's go back to VPTLive for a second. I also saw that you had dynamic structure trading, which I believe had something to do with trading psychology. Could you give us a little bit of an explanation about that?
Yeah, I'll do that, and then if we can, maybe I'll give just 30 seconds on the relationship between the two entities. So
of course.
Kind of clear. Yeah. So dynamic structure trading. So the Brickwick trading system is a momentum-based trading system, which is looking for breakouts of price action at particular price levels. Okay. Dynamic structure trading is more of typical or what's been around for a while, support and resistance types trading. So the reason we call it DSR is because the strategy itself will actually write in those support and resistance levels using not only swing logic that's available in a lot of different trading platforms, but also some of our own secret sauce that has Gantt and Fib and some moving averages, so that rather than having to look at your charts and go back on any time frame and draw on where those support and resistance levels are, we do that for you automatically. And then what you can do is just trade off those support and resistance levels. So it's a little bit of it's a different type of style. What's nice about it is it works for both people that are more comfortable with trend trading as well as counter trend trading. So as price approaches a resistance level, if you're going to fade that level, then you're taking a counter trend trade. The other easy setup is as soon as it gets through that level, now you're going to take a trend trade. So those levels are very identifiable, and what we really like about DSR, dynamic structure trading, DST, we call them dynamic structure resistance and support, is that in terms of trading systems, I think it's one of the easiest to learn the rules and watch and start to backtest for yourself of a lot of things that I've seen out there. Because again, it's just drawing the lines right on the chart, and you can make your decisions based on the support and resistance levels.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like another good feature on VPTLive. Do you want to talk a little bit about the connection between the two sites?
Right. So, yeah, thanks. So
of course.
Virtual Prop Trader is a training and education company that's designed and a community. So we have a trade room. We have these programs that we've been talking about, some for options, some for futures. And it's really meant to take traders across the various spectrum of experience and move them towards what we would call professional and very serious status. So we understand that not everyone can spend the amount of time necessary to become a professional trader, but we're really looking for people that are ultimately going to be very serious about their trading at some point. And we sort of gear our programs towards that. So we have Apple a Day Options, which is a beginning program, but then beyond that, there are a number of more advanced things we do for derivatives traders. Over on the MSA side, MainStreetAlpha, we started MainStreetAlpha because we found that the two main issues that retail traders have, well, the first is they don't have a system or an approach to the markets, and they fail for that reason. So we solved that on the VPT side. Then the second problem they have is access to capital. So they're just, based on their goals, whatever those might be, 99% of the time we find that retail traders are just undercapitalized to really ever be able to earn a living, if that's their goal, with the amount of capital that they're actually trading. So MainStreetAlpha is a program where you can build a track record. You can use one of the systems you find on VPT or your own. You build a verifiable track record, and then if it actually performs in a way that's consistent with a type of system that would be attractive to institutions or larger pools of assets, then we introduce that trading system into those environments. And this provides a really exciting additional source of capital. I want to point out it's different than a prop firm. So a prop firm is this concept, and there's nothing wrong with prop firms, but prop firms that's called a proprietary trading firm. It's funny, we actually call it VPT, Virtual Prop Trader, right?
Yeah.
But a prop firm is more of an environment in which you're actually trading their capital, and then you're going to split a percentage of the profits. It's a fine model. But at MainStreetAlpha, what you're doing is you're just trading your account, regardless of the size, but you've shown that you can manage a small amount of capital profitably, and we're just going to take your trade signals and then pay you a subscription based on that. Why is that important? Well, it's important because you can trade a much smaller account, and you could have hundreds or thousands of people following your trade signals and paying you a small amount of money each month, so that you're actually a professional trader, even though your account itself on a cash basis might be up, $3,000 or $10,000, but because of all those subscription fees, you're actually a professional trader. So it's an exciting program.
That actually sounds a little bit similar to TRDR.tv as well. It's obviously different in certain factors, but I mean that's a little bit similar to kind of what we're going for at TRDR.tv. But in regards to the subscription service, can you give me like an example of how much a monthly subscription? I'm assuming it's a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription.
Yeah, so it varies. So it can be set by the trader, or it can be set by us, depending on the source of capital or who's actually subscribing to it.
Okay.
And it also depends on the type of trading style that. And this is a conversation for a whole nother day. We've really learned over the last 4 years. I think we've become very, very good at understanding what types of trading systems can handle what type of capacity based on what they're trading. So getting back to the subscription fee. It varies. We have one system that charges $500 a month
Wow.
and has, we cut this guy a check. I won't even tell you what we cut him a check for, but he has more than 100 subscribers, so you can do the math there.
Yeah.
Now, how is that possible? He trades the bond market, which is the most liquid futures market out there.
Okay.
Trades 1.4 million contracts a day. So that system can actually sustain that kind of monthly subscription because the performance of the system has been so high. The average, though, is more like $40 to $100 a month.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, there's definitely some differences because I mean, it sounds like Main Street Alpha is more catering to businesses for proprietary trading or for things along those lines, whereas we focus more on individualistic traders here at Trader TV. But either way, I mean, it sounds like a good idea that you guys have going, and it seems like you've got a nice community built as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on and we can talk a little bit about Collective 2 today?
Sure, that's actually a very good segue. So what Main Street Alpha is essentially Main Street Alpha is a white label or front end for Collective 2, which has been in the marketplace for about 8 years. So I'm also involved with Collective 2 as well.
Okay.
And what Collective 2, so essentially everything I just said about Main Street Alpha is very similar to Collective 2. You can come to Collective 2, you can build a track record of your trading, and then based on that track record, you can get exposure to potential capital, whether that be retail or institutional. But what I wanted to mention briefly today is we've just established something called the C2 Fund, which is the next step of, and we don't offer this yet on Main Street Alpha, where the C2 Fund is actually, for the first time ever, we're taking our best traders and we're combining them into a single entity. So one of the feedbacks that we got from a lot of people, and you might find this on Trader TV as well, is that it can sometimes be a little either overwhelming or not clear. Okay, here's the top 10 traders on your site, and here's what they trade. What happens is people gravitate towards those top 2 or 3 traders, right? And they get all the capital and all the attention, and the leaderboard kind of moves around. Of course, invariably, as soon as people pile into a system or a fund or a hedge fund, what happens? Its performance suffers, right?
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've blended it into something called the C2 Fund. So now investors have access to basically the top systems all together. Now they have to have more capital to follow more trading systems, but that's what we're pretty excited about with C2. So Main Street Alpha is a white label version of Collective 2, and the two organizations are starting to work a lot more closely together.
Okay. Let's see. We talked a little bit about. I know that you do some live trading on. I think it's between 5:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. In the Pacific Standard Time. Is that for VPTLive or is that for Main Street Alpha?
It's actually both. So
okay.
It's a good question. So I'm one of the lead traders in our trade room. So there are a lot of different trade rooms out there. So we use a screen stare technology. They can see me on camera, similar to what we're doing here, except we're mostly focused on looking at the screens. In those sessions, 85, 90% of our trades are futures trades.
Okay.
On mostly stock indexes, and then I will call out some things that I'm doing in the options world as well. Everything is called out in advance. Everything is available for them to see. But what we think is really special about what we do at VPT is that what I'm doing and what I'm trading is actually being replicated in a live account that they can everyone can see the performance of over on Main Street Alpha. So the VPT Live Trade Room, it's not an Excel spreadsheet, it's not it's not a screenshot, it's not some PDF of a brokerage. It's an actual connection to one of my interactive brokerage accounts that is showing the exact results of our trading from every day. So I'm not out there. I don't know the entire competitive landscape for trading and education and trade rooms, but I've been in a lot in the last 5 years, and I had been not able to really find anyone that had that kind of transparency.
Well, for our viewers that are watching, if you're looking for something like that, I mean, feel free to check it out either at VPT Live or Main Street Alpha. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about some of the tools that are available on Main Street Alpha. I think that most of these are available for free, but correct me if I'm wrong. You have trade journals there available for education, stock and options paper trade accounts, real-time quotes and charting, and then also a Ninja Trader platform for futures and Forex, as well as you give advice offering people that are looking to buy computers specifically for trading. So those are a lot of different tools that are available on Main Street Alpha for different educational purposes. I highly recommend that our viewers go and check some of those out for themselves. Paper trading is a really good way to get started into trading. I mean, it's much obviously better than starting with a little bit of your own money, because in case you end up losing something during the educational process, it's just paper, so you're going to be okay. But I recommend checking that out on Main Street Alpha. I just have a couple more questions. What were the what would you say is an average yearly return for you as far as your returns go?
Yeah, I mean these are the questions that come up constantly. I will point out that I am a registered entity, so I can't really discuss performance of any individual fund or account that I work on. For those reasons, they're all available on the sites, as I mentioned, with all of the appropriate disclaimers.
Okay.
I will say that because we trade levered instruments, our returns on capital are we produce a tremendous amount of alpha, but we do also have a lot of volatility. So that's about all I can say there. But the other thing that we focus on is making sure that people really understand the capitalization requirements to be in this for the long term. So I don't trade as much foreign currency or Forex. We trade mostly, if we do, we trade it through the futures markets.
Okay.
But I am a little concerned with, and this is not to disparage the entire Forex trading community, but a lot of the Forex brokers that allow people to open accounts with $250 or $500 or $1,000, I just don't think that. Look, you could double a $500 account, no problem. It's not a very difficult thing to do. But on a leverage basis, you're also probably risking all that capital as well. And then you can, hey, look, I got 100% return. So what we really focus on is what's a reasonable rate of return based on true margins and true capitalization of the way money is really managed. That being said, when we share some of our stats, I mean, I can say that on our sites, the bond trading system that I had mentioned is available. It's public. You can look at it. And as of the time I'm recording this, it's up 350% this year.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I know that you couldn't give us a direct answer for the rest other than the bond market, but I appreciate that you gave us a little insight. And like you said, some of those, I think some of the numbers for the accounts are available if you want to check out MainStreetAlpha.com or VPTLive.com. We're running close to the end of the time for today. Rod, is there anything else that you want to add, or any other features that you feel like talking about at the moment?
No, I would just say that I love what I do. I think this is a fascinating, exciting, unbelievable business with tremendous amounts of opportunity. For anyone that's kind of watching this, we all come from completely different backgrounds, completely different motivations, completely different educations. But the one thing that I think is underappreciated and that people really have to understand is that if you really want to get involved in trading as a business, it's a long-term effort. It takes a lot of time and commitment, And if you're not willing to do that, then I think you can be better served by watching the markets and quote unquote investing, or spending more time with investment professionals that can help you meet your investment goals. Because trading is something I think, unfortunately, it's too seductive for the vast majority of folks, and they really underappreciate the amount of time and effort it takes to be successful. So doesn't mean you can't be, but understand it's the long haul, and it's a skill, and you got to hone it, and you got to appreciate all the effort it takes to be successful.
I agree. You have to do your due diligence, and I think that was part of the reason why I saw that, for example, your website MainStreetAlpha is actually split into investors and traders, which I think is a good idea, because it helps people, especially when they're getting into the education side of it, to really kind of understand that those are two separate things that should not be confused to beginners. So
right,
I agree
exactly. So
awesome. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you very much, Rod Casilli. He's one of the main traders and the co-founders at VPTLive.com and MainStreetAlpha.com. So please go ahead and check out some of those sites over the next couple of days. Thank you very much, Rod, for joining us. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us at Trader TV. I hope that you get the chance to check out some of Rod's websites and do some trading with Rod over the next couple of days. I also hope that you have the chance to check out Trader TV, and that you have a nice day and you did some good luck with your trading. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.